Good morning, guys. It is Saturday the 26th of April today, and we are going to the British GT Silverstone 500. It is currently 6:45 in the morning, which isn't early for some people, but for me is obscenely early. And yeah, we're doing a really exciting kind of project or collab with Racing Pride, and we've been invited to their Pride party, so I'm really excited about that. But we are leaving in a little bit. Need to get ready first. But I'm so excited, and we have media passes, and we get a snazzy lanyard, which I'm also very happy about. So as you can see in this clip, we are just driving to the circuit. It was about a 2-hour drive, which did seem to drag. Here is the Silverstone sign. So guys, we've just arrived at the track now. We're just heading to look at some of the cars and maybe look at some of the merch stands. Yeah, we're just having a look at some of the cars. Here I am with Lexi, who is a content creator. Okay guys, so we are on the way to the paddock at the minute. We are with Racing Pride, and it's really exciting because we get some really incredible opportunities. Lip gloss is sticking to my hair. No, hair's sticking to my lip gloss. But yeah, we're just on the way to the paddock. We're in the Silverstone UTC building. Pan to the, yeah, pan. And it's a really cool opportunity, and I'm really, really thankful to Racing Pride and Richard for this opportunity. Okay, end it, please. God. So, guys, we are just Richard. You might get run over. Just be careful. We are just walking into the paddock now. As you can see, there's like quite a lot of activity going on, and there's a lot going on. There's some merch stands over there, which is quite good. But yeah, the British GT, I think, the British GT have just come off track, maybe. So it is a bit chaotic. But yeah.
The drivers in GT3 are probably spending nearly £300,000-ish a year to have a budget to race in British GT. Maybe even a little bit more than that. GT4, they're probably spending 150, 170,000 to compete in it. GT3 cars are pure racing cars. They are carbon fiber. They're very highly developed. They have downforce. They are highly modified from road cars. And the sort of traction control, the anti-lock brakes, all the stuff they have is absolute magic. GT4 cars are closer to supercars on the road. They are obviously modified for the track. They are strengthened up. They are lighter. They have everything stripped out. They have almost no creature comforts. I've driven the Aston Martin GT4, and I can tell you it has no creature comforts at all. But they are in the same shape and chassis as the standard supercar. So they are noticeably slower than the GT3s because they're not developed purely for racing. But they're all essentially the same silhouette as the supercars you see on the road, and that's what makes them GTs. They mostly have amazing sounding V8 engines. Some of them have V12s, some of them have V6s, but the V8's kind of standard. And they balance the performance across the different cars. So balance of performance is the most contentious thing in GT racing. Because you've got such different cars as the base models, they have to make sure they use weight and reductions in engine power and things like that to balance it out so that you could win with any different car. So it's always great to start with a car that's super quick, but if it is quicker than the others, they will penalise you in some way. They will reduce the power you can use, they'll increase the ballast you've got to carry, and they do that weekend by weekend to try and balance out the performance. And similarly, they have rules about there are different classes. So you'll see pros, who are obviously pro racing drivers, who still have full licenses and everything and enough experience, but they're not seen as being professional standards. And there are some classes that are purely for pro, some that are purely for AM, and some that are pro AM. We have one pro and one AM. Finance-wise, the idea is the pro is not paying for their seat. So if you're an AM, you've got to have deep enough pockets to pay for both of you. If you're in an AM-AM combination, you're both paying. And if you're in pro-pro, the manufacturer is paying. But yeah, a lot of amazing cars in this paddock, a lot of money being spent. There's fancy hospitality, and we'll walk through it like clubs.
Here we are walking through the paddock. As you can see, we've got the Pirelli tent tyres, and you've got the trucks for the teams on the right.
Massively important in motorsport. You'll obviously have seen in Formula One all the chat is about tyres. They do make a huge difference on GT cars, particularly the GT3s, but still on the GT4. They might make 2 or 3 seconds lap time difference between a used old set and a new set. You still go testing in an old set, but it's not going to give you anything like the performance of the brand new slicks. And they give that like peak performance on the first run you do with them. And every time they're used after that, every heat cycle, they're not quite as good as they were. It does matter how many laps you put on them, but it's mostly how many times have they been used. So even if you only put a few laps on them, you change the nature of that tyre, and it will never quite give the same peak grip again. Sometimes, though, you'll take them out in practice to just put a couple of laps on them, just to harden the compound, because what it does is harden the rubber up, and then you can do a longer stint with them when you next take them out. It does mean that GT teams have loads and loads of sets of tyres. They really munch through them. And a lot of people in the team, their job will be to prep the tyres, make sure they've been in the tyre ovens at the right time, they get to the car at the right temperature, that they've got the right pressures at all times, and that someone's keeping track of which set has been used when on which car and how many times. So it's really quite a big job just doing the tyres in a GT team, but it is really performance critical. So people doing tyres. One of the nice things about GT racing is you do get teams that are like formed with a bit of a purpose, and the army is often involved in motorsport endurance racing, usually sort of injured combatry. A couple of organisations involved in that is Mission Motorsport, there's Invictus, and they take troops who've been injured serving and train them to drive racing cars and get involved in the team and mechanical roles and so on. You can give something to do on that front. There's Team Brit is similar, it's just for disabled and autistic people, but not necessarily with the military connection. But you see a lot of it in GT racing, and it's a really nice sort of addition to the paddock. Part of it is because you can, within the regulations, you get dispensations to alter the controls. You can use hand controls, all sorts of different things. And with the cars being larger, you can adapt the cockpit quite a bit more than you can with a single-seater. So you might remember Robert Kubica, the F1 driver, just destroyed his hand basically in rallying, his wrist, almost completely severed his wrist. And did eventually come back to Formula One, but they had to cut the sides of the cockpit so that he could put his wrist in a different position to how he used to, and it was a bit of a nightmare, and he only did a season coming back before the team decided this was too much trouble. With the GT car, much easier to make adaptations to it, so you do see more of this sort of thing. The other thing I stopped here to point out is Team Parker Racing here. Teams will sometimes switch between manufacturers and brands. Back in 2019, when Racing Pride started, they were running a Bentley GT3 car, and they were the first team, motorsport team, to run a Racing Pride logo at the Silverstone 500 in 2019 on their Bentleys. So we like Team Parker for doing that. They're also the team that Abby Eaton was associated with last year when she was racing in Porsche Carrera Cup GB and became the first female winner in that series. She's also a Racing Pride ambassador, and again was driving with Team Parker, so we like those guys. Behind it is where the tyres are kind of taken to be, immediately go on the car. Mechanics are sitting, have the lunch back here, look at data from the mechanics side, sort of, in the back of the garage, give you a bit extra space. You'll very typically have this tyre tent here. These are the tyres that are in the ovens, so these are tyre ovens in here. And the reason they're really close here is so that you can pull them out the oven and get them on the car with as little time lost as possible. So it's actually quite a bizarre feeling. When I did my first test in a GT car, you sit in the front of the box, up on the jacks on the car, you're fully ready to go, strapped in, engines car's primed, and you're just waiting for someone to run through with the tyres, bolt them on the car, drop the car and go. There is no pause between the tyres being bolted and you going, because you want them at the perfect temperature when they go on the car. So tyres live in these ovens here, and they'll be at the temperatures that you want them at. And then behind that, you obviously have the driver truck, where drivers get ready and stuff, and they can look at data between sessions and things. But this is sort of the back end of what your pit lane setup looks like. The front end you see on TV.
So guys, we just had a look at the back of the garages. I'll put a video in. It was really cool, really interesting to see. This tour was really good because Richard is a racing driver, so he does know insider information, I suppose you could call it. I'm not quite sure where we're heading now. Oh, I thought I'd lost Richard then, but yeah, we are heading somewhere. So guys, I believe we're heading towards a GB3 paddock currently. There's a GB3 car in front of me. Vroom, 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 vroom. There's no noises, so I'm making up the noises.
GB3 cars have just come back from scrutineering. So they're being fed back into the awnings now. This is the support paddock, so they get awnings around the garages. And when it's their turn, they need to drive around and get to the track. But, on the way back, they stop in scrutineering, they get weighed and everything, legality checked, and then they get released back to the teams. So the mechanics will come and fetch them. It's slightly less glamorous series. The drivers stay with them while they're being checked and then drive them back. But, this is GB3, so the mechanics will bring them back. And they're just feeding them back into the awnings now. We can have a walk along, we can have a little look in front of the awnings, see all the cars. You'll see drivers walking about. Obviously, you just saw one walk past you. Just be conscious that you're not walking in the way of any mechanics or any cars being pushed around, because obviously it's quite a live paddock at the moment. But let's walk along, stick our head in.
So guys, we are currently walking along the GB3 paddock. The cars have just come back from being on track. So there's the front wing that I was just telling you guys about. Here is a race car driving past us. That's probably just broken my mic. You can see there's some GB3 cars. Just walking down the paddock again. There is a lot of cars here. So there's Hi-Tech. Hi-Tech are obviously a well-known team. Here's Excel. I know they've done a lot in the UAE. Snazzy pink car. Look, they got a pink car. How cool is that?
As long as you don't get in the way. These are cool cars, these GB3s. One thing I like about them is because they still use turbos like British F3 always did, in a very traditional way, with the air intake that kind of bulges out the left-hand side of the side pod with that separate kind of intake, and that just gives them a cool look to me. Obviously, last few years, all the single-seaters have the halos now, like an F1. You can see, even though these are junior categories and the aero is meant to be, not something that's competitively developed, they're standard chassis across all the teams. You can see it does have quite a few aero performance tweaks on it. The shaping of the wings relatively similar to, what you will see in Formula One. It has a shaped floor to create downforce, big diffuser on the rear end. It's designed to be fairly slippy through the air, so it has a lot less downforce generating flicks and tricks than you'd see on an F1 car. That just allows you to get a higher top speed with less power, but it also allows the cars to follow closely and to be able to race and overtake each other. So they have downforce, but they don't have so much disturbed air over the car, and that allows them to really get close wheel to wheel, which is the point of developing young drivers. So they're a great tool for it. They look brilliant. Here they are. Take a look. They've got, as you can see, big rubber on the side of the tyres as well, small alloys, lots and lots of rubber. That's particularly useful because you don't have much suspension in a single-seater car, so the sidewall of the tyre becomes your suspension to a large extent. The flex in that allows it to absorb the bumps. And that does mean, again, that tyres are crucial, what pressures you run them at, and those sorts of things, because it will change not just how the tyre works, but how the whole car reacts when you're cornering. As the GB3 cars are both quite long wheelbase, and the steering lock is awful. This isn't the problem out on track, because you're actually, tiny movements of the wheel really do manipulate these cars. It's not going lock to lock, it's little movements going at the speed you're going at. That's all you really need, and that lock is plenty when you're out on track. But it's right pain when you're in the paddock. They are, sort of, as you're going up the series, you'll see.
Try not to get run over while we're filming.
That's authentic, isn't it?
Yeah, my followers can rely on my authenticness. Is that a word?
They're about to push back as well.
In this clip you can see that the Hill Speed GB3 team are just sorting their car out. I believe they were taking it to Parc Ferme after either qualifying or race 1. I'm pretty sure it's qualifying, but it was really interesting to see.
You'll see the GB4s are quite a bit smaller, and as you go up the series they start to get bigger and you start to have the same sorts of issues with the wheelbase and size of the cars and stuff that you see in F1 in terms of the turning circle. But no, they're awesome little cars and really impressive. We probably won't see the that's not our group.
It's randoms.
Yeah, you will see the GB4s are a little bit smaller, but as you go up the series, they're getting more and more similar to high-end single-seater cars, and they're really impressive bits of kit. All the cars, as I sort of mentioned earlier, are identical. They are the same chassis. They are the same engine across all the teams. But what you're seeing with the different teams, with the different liveries, with the setups, is the team can set them up themselves. So, you know, the secret in these kind of series is the knowledge that's within the team, the mechanics, and so on. But also the driver playing a big role in tweaking and refining the setup, the feedback they give on track. Part of that's personal preference. There isn't a correct way of setting up a race car. It's however enables you to get the most performance out of it. But one of the ways that drivers can differentiate themselves is by starting to work with their team, give really good feedback, give precise feedback, and dial in the best setup, because all these cars are capable of the same lap time. So it's only your driving and how you and your team have set the car up that's making the difference between the cars. So some of these teams are big teams that compete right up to the top of motorsport, and drivers will invest a lot to go and learn off them and learn off the mechanics and the experience that they have. But you will also see drivers start to make a name for themselves because they're able to give that good feedback and really precise feedback. You know, rather than saying the car's terrible under braking, they'll say, oh, I feel like we're putting too much bias on the front. I think we're going to go a bit more rearward on the bias, and do that themselves sometimes in the car as they're driving around if they're really good and they're really attuned to it. You know, things like changing the characteristics under.
We're going to head back to the UTC, which is where the hospitality is. Richard knows his stuff, obviously, because he's a driver, but it was really insightful and really interesting. There's a lot going on. What was that all? Oh, okay. I thought she was excited over me then. Jokes. Yeah, we're just walking back now. We're walking through the paddock again. And we have to go through a tunnel to get to the hospitality. It's like miles away, swear. But yeah, there's some pretty interesting people here, pretty famous people, and I'm really excited to see what else is happening with the hospitality later. So guys, we have, I just nearly fell over. We've just been in the hospitality for a bit, like doing some of the ice-breaking activities, and watching the cars on track, obviously, because, you know, we're at a racetrack. We're just heading to one of the stands to have a look at the view and maybe get some more content. Also, we were trying to find a program, and we didn't find a program, so, yeah, we're going to have a look when we go home, because people were telling us they were all different places. But yeah, we are just walking over to, I don't actually know, the grandstand. In this clip are the Racing Pride cupcakes which we got. Here you can see us walking through the GB3 paddock again, just getting some photos with the cars, just getting some content, And then in this clip, we can see the TV crew filming. I believe they were doing a little bit of an interview or a pre-show kind of talk. We are just heading back to the UTC, the hospitality. We have had a little walk around the paddock, seen a little bit of the behind-the-scenes filming. And we're probably going to head home soon after we've got a programme, because it's like a 2-hour drive, so don't want to be getting home too late. We are just driving out of the Silverstone circuit in this clip. A massive thank you to Racing Pride and Richard Morris for inviting us to Silverstone. It was such an incredible day, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and hopefully we can do some more work with Racing Pride in the future. But it was truly a really amazing day, and I'm so grateful, and so grateful to you guys, my followers and subscribers, because you guys are the reason that I get invited to these amazing events. And yeah. And just in this clip, you can see the Aston Martin F1 HQ. It's not the best clip, guys, I'm really sorry, but it was really difficult to capture, but it was really cool to see.